Welcome in and happy to have you. My name is Patrick Carver with Constellation Marketing, and this is our second Freestyle Friday. We're having some fun with it, and kind of a uh, goal of this is really to cover a lot of questions that we see out when talking with prospects, talking with clients, also out on the internet. So we're going to hit 5 or 6 today if we have time. So pretty jazzed to get into it. So I hope everybody's thawed out. I know snow's either affecting or greatly overhyped in many parts of this country. So probably hopefully cruising to a nice weekend and away from work. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of this freestyle session. And first, we're going to talk about this one keeps coming up quite a lot is LSAs. And the question we have received for this is, what are local service ads, LSAs, really? And how can lawyers use them to get more qualified leads? Yeah, so simple way to think about this is LSAs are Google Ads for Dummies, basically. And this is a pay per lead style platform, as opposed to the pay per click platform of Google Ads, which has been the main player for a long time. But then a few years ago, they started rolling out these LSAs. And so if you're looking at a search result and you see those little Google verified people, that's exactly what that is. So it's just a different type of ad, right? And they are going to range from $50 to $300 per lead, depending on the practice area. So so kind of deal with the rest of the question, like how can you use them to get more qualified leads? Well, it's pretty straightforward, right? So you literally just give them a budget, and then they're going to give you leads, and you're going to get charged on a per lead basis. I won't go into the whole history of this, but like there's a problem with the lead quality is really the big issue between this and regular PPC. There's good opportunity for certain practice areas, which I'll cover in a second. But the problem with lead quality on this is that the way they've structured this is to make it super easy. And so the negative of that is you don't get as much hands-on customization of how you want the leads, how you want the ads to show, how you want them filtered. And so what ends up happening is basically more unqualified leads. And so if you imagine what we see, like I think criminal defense is the best example of this, where you don't get what you're after. Because when people are searching criminal lawyer or really anything associated with criminal law, Google's going to try to show these ads, and they're going to try to get people to convert because and click as a lead, because they get financially incentivized every time that happens. So what ends up happening is it's a lot of kind of junk traffic coming in at once. You get a lot of tire kickers, kind of price shoppers. People just don't even really know what they are after. And so with criminal, we often will see a bunch of leads coming through that are maybe people looking for, they actually just want to sue their neighbor, or it's more of like a personal injury claim or a different thing. Like people just don't have a baseline understanding of what a criminal defense lawyer does necessarily, or Google is incorrectly lumping them in there and putting them in there. And so you basically get charged for this lead before you have the opportunity to put any filtering in place or put any mechanism to try and like filter out some of those people. It's limited to some practice areas. I think anyone listening to this is probably like not, it handles the most common practice areas out there. But if you're looking for something like very niche, it's not going to be the best option for you, because you're going to get all this general stuff. So in terms of this, I don't know if this is where the question was going, but how do you get more qualified leads? My view or thought process around that is, how can you get people who are high intent and generally need the service that you're after? So LSAs don't really help you with any of that. I would use Google PPC for that if you want a real high degree of qualification, because you're able to control a lot more elements and make a better funnel to get people to you, and gives you better targeting, all that stuff. So there's really no kind of like qualification benefit of LSAs. It's kind of like the benefits you're paying per lead. It's really easy to set up, and so there's a bunch of good applications for it if you're just doing something small for yourself, don't want to spend an enormous amount of money, just want to get a little bit of action going. Not bad. But if you want to optimize for quality over time, or scale it, it becomes really problematic because you can't turn up the dial, the spend dial, as you can with PPC. So it's just a different ball game. And so I would say where this makes the most sense is going to be high volume practices that can afford to filter. So your PI, potentially family law. But I would say PI is really the best utilization of this, because the pay per lead, the cost of those leads is going to be usually much better than doing the PPC route, which the cost per click can go is now up so substantially because of how competitive the market is for this. So if you don't have that, PI can work for that. And I also say in just smaller areas, it's going to be less competitive, and you can probably get pretty good value on it. All right, so moving on to another topic that comes up. Well, we don't really talk to people doing this because they're eventually coming to us, but we talk indirectly about this, which is, if I'm trying DIY SEO, where do lawyers get stuck most often, and what mistakes should I avoid? So the core of this is, I think lawyers get stuck on execution consistency. They read a bunch, get somewhat knowledgeable about it, and it just becomes like a time crunch. Like, you're trying to run cases and manage a business, and then also write a bunch of content and do all this stuff. So there's some people that do it great, and they're very sharp and kind of have the brain for it. But I think it falls for most people because it's an extremely difficult thing to do as an attorney. I mean, for anyone, for myself, and I've been doing it for 15 years, 20 years. If you're trying to come in now, you're going to have a big challenge with it. But there's a few things you can do right now that are very kind of easy, and I would steer you to make it very simplistic about it. And the things I would recommend doing here are content and link building. That's about 80% of SEO. And so if you're an attorney, the two time investments I would recommend for you are writing a page for every practice area you have, and then make a list of every question you get or somebody could think to ask about your particular practice area, and more or less write a page for that. Spend more time on the practice area pages, because they're going to be focused on people searching more high intent, searching for a lawyer who does XYZ. Then you can kind of supplement that with content about concepts, legal concepts, and more general, broad information. But if you do that and just kind of map that out, the way I do this is I set up a content map for ourselves, and I've got 500 topics in there. And so I always have this kind of backlog of okay, if I have time, I'm going to go in and start to mess with this and add some new content. And I'm updating it, every couple months or month when I see something or something changes in the market. Going to be adding it there, and you can basically do the same. But there's really, not an enormous amount of change over time in the legal field, so you can make this one big map and then just kind of keep chugging away on it over time. But I would also say, make sure you are updating your kind of core pages more than in terms of priority, adding more new pages. So this is kind of a change that's I'm seeing, in real time now, where I think it's becoming more valuable to really try to make those pages great, doing what known as knowledge gain or knowledge add, so that you're adding things that are not out there on other law firm pages. You're using examples, case studies, like all of that, really taking it up to 10x the quality of those core pages. I think is going to be a great time investment. And then the other thing about I'm talking about here is link building, and that it sounds maybe complicated or whatever, but really what I'm advocating here for you is claiming your digital real estate. So not only do you want to have a website, that's really the core piece of SEO and AI visibility, but really what kind of puts gas on the fire, in addition to the content, the website, is being found by other websites. Google still a big portion of their their algorithm is going to be link based. And so what that means is how many other people on the internet kind of vouch for you that you're found on these other websites. And so the more you have, the better authority you have. Google sees you as more of an actual brand, of actual company of significance, of importance. So to do this in a material sense, you are going to want to basically sign up for every directory, starting with all the legal directories and additional places that you can list your business online. So there's tons and tons of directories, like legal ones, but then also you've got Yellow Pages online, you've got Foursquare. Then you have a bunch of social platforms like YouTube, right? Claim your YouTube page, Facebook, every one of those places. Get in there, add your link, add information about your business. And you can also kind of take this to the next level by using something called Bright Local's local aggregator, citation aggregator. And this is essentially going to blast your business information out to these aggregators that control hundreds of sub websites underneath them. And so the whole ecosystem is controlled by about 4 or 5 groups. You pay them, boom, blast out your information. And then, you want to just keep at it, right? Making sure you're on your local bar organization. If you sign up, if you're using a vendor, ask if you can do a testimonial, get your link on there. There's a million ways to do it, but that's, really where I would spend my time. And then probably if you really want to take it up another notch, then, consult somebody, professionally at some level who can maybe do some of the more advanced things like technical optimization, more off page and link building and stuff like that. So just, do kind of the basic stuff. Don't worry about optimizing too much. Just really do, kind of share your knowledge, right? And a lot of it is going to kind of take care of itself. You'll start to build a presence, then you can refine it more and more over time. Moving on. All right. So this next question is about reviews and responsiveness to this. And I've seen this as a big issue because everybody is, trying to get as much value as possible out of their local presence, because Google is cutting into a lot of the traffic that lawyers are facing. But one of the areas that still is providing a ton of value for them is their Google business profile, where reviews are. And there's a bunch of benefits of getting reviews. But the question today is, do reviews and responsiveness really impact visibility and lead flow, or is that just a myth? So it's not a myth, and this is something that we haven't done exhaustive data-driven testing on this, but my theory or philosophy on this is always follows Google's guidance to some degree, and really what their business goals are, right? So what I mean by that is, they're in the business of connecting people with answers, connecting people with service providers. And so if they connect somebody who doesn't pick up the phone, who isn't filling out their information online, it's not accurate, they're disincentivized to connect people to that provider. And so it's better for them if you are an active, engaged, responsive business. So in the sense of, or how that's related to the Google business side of this, is they've got a bunch of information that they want you to put in there to be, comprehensive about what you do, when you're open, all of that sort of thing. Because they're tracking, they are looking to see, are people, clicking on your button and then immediately clicking on somebody else's a couple minutes, a couple seconds later. All of that goes in their algorithm and works towards giving the user the best experience possible, which is going to default to the people who are more or less following their guidelines. So there's, a big piece of guidance here when it comes to Google business profiles and reviews specifically is essentially do all the things that are available. So make sure you fill out your Google business profile completely. Make sure you are using the right categorization. You talk, pretty plainly, but descriptively about your business. And then when you do get reviews, respond to them within 24 hours, and and make sure Google is seeing that you're doing that. You're a responsive business. And probably the bigger myth that I hear about, or not even myth, but just thing that worries people is, they're really focused on, do I have a 5.0, or there's like one bad review and it really rubs them the wrong way. But from what we understand in conversations with Google Diamond product experts, who are essentially the closest thing to talking with Google, because they are actually invited and work with Google's team on Google business profile. So it's almost like a connection point between the broader market of marketers and Google. And so they get insight that most folks, don't have access to. There's only a handful of them in the world. We pay, to get this, to have them consult with us and tell us kind of what's going on the inside. And everything we hear, about this is that, basically Google doesn't really care about the exact number of reviews that you've gotten, or the score. It's really just about responsiveness. And so don't avoid writing a negative review, or writing back for a negative review just because it's negative, right? Get in there, respond, just, be polite, move on, right? And get more. It's more about review velocity rather than trying to get just a 5-star review. So I would 100% say, especially as we're having this rise of AI search, these reviews are going to matter more and more, and not just on Google, but other platforms as well, because these platforms are increasingly looking for consensus. They're looking for multiple signals across different platforms that you are, in fact, the kind of best person for the job, right? You're the best family lawyer in your area. So I would be shooting for at least a review every week, and just get it, dial your team in to be asking for reviews all the time. Every single time after you get a positive experience for the client, or a positive result, make sure you are making it extremely easy for them to get reviews. We have free review software. If anybody ever wants to use that, you don't have to be a client. We will provide that. It helps you get more reviews by running email and text campaigns to those people. Takes it off your plate. It's a nice little advantage that you can take from us. All right, moving on to more SEO talk for the next question, which is, how do you vet an SEO or a marketing agency before hiring so you don't get burned? So I started this business, basically to help prevent this, because I was seeing it with my father's law firm, and I think there's a difference between charlatans and just people who are not great at SEO, and so there's kind of like different layers of getting burned here. The one that sticks out the most to me are um, these companies that are going to do like 12-month or 24-month contracts, and they're really more legal directories. This is going to be a red flag, as if they're going to lock you into a 12 to 24-month contract. SEO does take time. I think you should stick with an agency, at least 6 months, potentially a year. But if you're seeing like red flags right after the beginning of the relationship, and they're not, putting any time in and really doing research for you, or, keeping you up to date on what's going on, anything like that, like, you should have the ability to get out and go find somebody who's like the business is more important to, and they're going to do a better job. So I would ask them questions, before hiring. And the ones I like to focus on, because it's our ethos, and I think it's the most the best way to win trust and keep clients happy, is looking at successful case studies, right? Have you done my type of law before, and have you done it successfully, right? Because people will conflate a bunch of different results. Maybe they got years ago, maybe they've done it a couple times for family law, but never done it for these other folks. And there's an enormous amount of crossover with all these practice areas. But if you don't want to be kind of their first test run, right? You don't want to have them learning on the job. And so finding somebody with consistent results, don't have to all be perfect. And I think that's a bar that's unreasonable, that they're not going to ever have anything that doesn't work. But you will find people who are more consistently than not hitting the mark, and they need to be able to show you that, and they need to be able to show you real revenue impact on their client's bottom line, not just some vanity metrics and one or two reviews. The more of that social proof, actual results, spend a lot of time drilling into that. And that's going to be your best gauge, because marketers are good talkers, right? Just like lawyers. And they're going to be able to tell you things that sound great, but 90% of all of this is in the follow through, right? Anybody can pitch a great plan, and the disconnect I see often is the pitch plan. Everything sounds great. They're promising the moon, and then the actual execution of it is garbage. And that's really, I think, where most people get frustrated and get burned by these folks who insist they're going to get them these results, but then ultimately just drop it and drop the ball and are no good. So spend your time up front. Don't jump into it, and look around, ask around, interview them. It's okay not to bite on the first go around, but do your due diligence and look for the proof. All right. If I'm trying, we already touched on this. If I'm trying DIY SEO, so I think we'll go ahead and skip that one and move on to. All right, my last question for this live Friday Freestyle edition number 2 is going to focus on social ads, so paid social. And this came up from a prospect who is a property damage law firm, and kind of wants to know how we feel about that. Should we run paid social? I'm generally not a fan of this, and I'm increasingly testing this. I'm certainly more open-minded about it, but the results that we have seen, or the reality that we have seen, is that ads or leads coming from social channels, particularly Meta, are so much lower in quality and intent than search ads and SEO, or just search engine derived leads. They're cheaper on Meta, but the quality is cheap as well, right? And the best way I would think about this is what I remember hearing a long time ago. It's always stuck with me, is that Facebook is the place to go to avoid making decisions. And I think that's absolutely true, right? When somebody is on Facebook, they are not out actively on their phone looking for a DWI lawyer at midnight. They are cruising around, not actively looking. And I think a lot of the lead activity happens just because of FOMO, because they see something. It's like, okay, why not? I'll put my name down, but I'm not like interested in today in doing that. And we also see a ton of spam leads as well. Some person or group out there is consistently spamming these meta ads, which I don't understand what the economics are behind it, or what the motivation for anyone would be to do this. To me, it makes no sense. But nonetheless, the facts on the ground are that you are going to get at least probably 50% are going to be junk, and then so you're focused on the the other 50%. And the problem with a lot of those is that they're still not low or high intent, low stage of the funnel type buyers, and so you need to have some expectations, and that's lots of follow-ups are going to be required, lots of no-shows for consultations. You're gonna get when you do get people, they're not going to remember you or why you signed up. So it's very cold traffic that you really have to hit them a lot, educate them, try them multiple ways, all that, and it's going to be a longer sales cycle as well. Now, it does make sense for some folks to do this. And I mean, look, it's always worth trying, and you may have better results than I do. But what I would say is the best path for this is a two-stage funnel, where on the top end you're providing information, very highly targeted information that fits your ICP. So the exact person that you are trying to talk to, and you want to do something that kind of picks their interest, or solves a pain point for them, but you're not selling. And then as people see that, they'll watch it, they get tagged, and then you want to hit the second group, the lower stage of the funnel, with more of your offer, like either that's a consultation or download this guide that tells you kind of all of the secrets, all the best, the best stuff with this. A little complicated to pull off well, but there's a lot of people out there who really specialize in this, and it's great for them. But still, all of the even the good ones we've worked with in this space, you still have these these quality problems associated with this. So you can get cheap leads, but be prepared for some pain, right? So when it does make sense, I would say it can work with personal injury, but unless you're really dialed in on this, I would say skip it, because there's so much aggravation with it that PPC and kind of traditional search ads and SEO, I think, are going to be your better friend in this. But if you do want to go down this road, here's my testing philosophy with it: is start with a small test budget. So, 1,000-2,000 per month max with it, and add friction to signups. So what I mean by that is make them fill out a form, with more than two things, more than their name and their email. Ask them, why are they interested in this, or something like that, or text authentication. That's going to weed out a lot of the poor leads up front and keep your sanity. I would also review this at about 60 days. And so make an attempt at it, and then either scale or kill it based on the actual results. Don't, with anything, don't just do it to do it, or because other people do it. You want to have accurate, or you want to have some testing data associated with it, so that you are you have a good use of your budget, right? And you're not continuing with time, energy, et cetera, going into something that is really not that functional. So do that. Don't automatically get emotionally attached to a channel or the idea. People have, some people can, get great success with this, but it's not necessarily transferable for everybody else. So, sounds like my kids are home, so I'm gonna have to jet out of here before it gets wild, loud in this house. But thank you if you are watching this, and hopefully added some value and some good information for you on these questions. We'll keep doing this, and please send any questions in. Feel free to reach out to me, Patrick at goconstellation.com. You can check us out at goconstellation.com. Sign up to talk with us, and we can help you build a custom strategy for your law firm. We're helping 85 law firms right now. We were an Inc. 5000 fastest growing business last year. We really specialize in, generating ROI for law firms. So give us a shout. We'd love to help you grow. Thanks, and have a great weekend.